Alright, so you're recording. Okay, so we're carrying on from the last video where we finished up to this stage. Right, so the next thing we want to do is we're going to do some tweaking to the maybe a face a little bit first before we move on to the next stage. Right, as you can see here, I already created the hands and then stuck it to the body. The next thing we want to do is to try to create some accessories for her. And in my other model, okay, I already created the helmet for the character. I also done some hair. Now I will not be showing you the hair because this is quite time consuming, but what I'll be doing is to show you how I created the helmet instead, and also how I create things like clothes details, okay, like a collar, okay, and then because this is almost like a form-fitting clothes, I'll try to model it so that the topology is a little bit easier to manage. Alright, so display, I'm going to show everything. Right, so this is the target that I try to achieve. Okay, so let's move on to this character. So let me just do some adjustments first. Right now she don't really have much of a neck or shoulder, so I will try to insert one edge loop on this section here. Okay, right about the middle point here, and then go back to select, grab the points, and then try to move it in so that she has more of a neck. And you notice that because of the extra edge loops that I've added, right, this area has become a little bit too harsh, too straight and harsh, so I'll have to tweak this a little bit. So likewise for the arms, okay, when we left off, right, the last video, this area here you can see because of the additional edge loop, it becomes a little bit squarish. So what you can do is to select this edge loop, then use the circularize tool, okay, to change this edge loop into a circle. Okay, you can also do the same thing for the loop here. Okay, we're going to select the edge loop here. Okay, this is not a continuous, it doesn't cut through four-sided faces, that's why you have to select them one by one. Then you run the circularize, so to make the cross section rounder a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to adjust her figure also to match the reference. So I'm going to grab these vertices here and then push it in. Now, as you all already can see, when you are modeling in the early stages, it is best to avoid putting so much detail, right? Then you have to spend a lot of time pushing and moving the vertices. And you can see at my character at this stage is still quite manageable. Right, so right now I just want to reshape her rear end a little bit. And also add a few more subdivisions for the legs, okay, so that when we were to rig this later on, this area will be able to deform a little bit better. So I'm going to insert one edge loop here. Let's tweak over the edge first, then use the multi-cut tool, one edge loop here, and then maybe a middle edge loop there. Right. Okay, if I go to level 1, you can see that the loops are spaced quite close together. So I'm going to try to use the move tool, then holding down Control Shift, and then just slide them out a little bit. Right. And also you can also use the circularize tool on this edge loop as well to just round off the area. Right. We can select the loop and then just use the rotation to rotate it and straighten it out. Okay, so this will be the boot area, and just gonna scale this up and then push it forward a little bit. Okay. Alright, so let's take a look at the butt area here. Here needs a little bit of fixing. Okay, I'm gonna just push this in and then push this one inside a little bit. Spread this vertex out a little bit. You do not want the you do not want too many edge loops, right, to be spaced close together. So use the slide tool, Control Shift, and then move to slide to spread out the vertices. All right. Okay. Okay, so let's fix the nose also a little bit. I think I will start off with the helmet first. I think that one is quite straightforward. The principles for creating like headgear and all that, right, you can derive the same ideas, right, from the hat tutorial, which I did quite a while ago, okay, in Maya. So I think you can find it on this channel here as well. Alright, so now let's do the helmet. So for helmets, right, of course you have to go and get some reference first. If you go and search for Air Force helmets, and you can see there's many different kinds available. And now I want to create one that is simple. It doesn't need to have so much detail. And from the look of the helmet, right, we can straight away see that these helmets, right, have the basic spherical shape. So the base shape that we can start off with is to create one. Now the type of helmet that I want to create is more like the Soviet style helmet. Okay, it has these headphones openings, or rather a depression inside, right, to put in the earphones and all that. So these are not real Air Force helmets. These are more like motorcycle helmet style in the form of Air Force helmet. But I kind of like this design, so that's why I put it for my character. And in terms of modeling difficulty, is not that difficult. So let's create that instead. So we'll start off by creating the base shape, okay, which is essentially a sphere, right? So I'm going to start off with a sphere. So I'll go with a sphere, and I do not need so many subdivisions. So go over to the sphere. I'm going to rename the sphere, and I call it the helmet. And let's reduce the number of subdivisions. Okay, use an even number so that we can easily spread them out later. Like I think this 7, 8, this should be fine. Okay, 7 for the height and axis for 8. And we're going to scale this up a little bit until it covers her entire head. Alright, I'm going to move this up. So we're going to scale it up slightly. So until it covers her head. Right, so we have a good starting point, right, to actually build our helmet. Right, next we want to delete the faces we don't need. So basically we want to select the faces right in front, directly in front of her, and also the base of her head here. These faces we definitely don't need it. So now we have the base shape of the helmet. We can press number 3 to go and take a look at what the helmet looks like. And obviously you see that it definitely needs reshaping. Now if you take a look at the finished model that I did, you have to take into consideration the hair, because right now my other character doesn't have any hair. So if your character, you intend to give hair to your character, you need to scale the helmet right so that it can fit the hair as well. Alright, so next I want to do some topology corrections. Okay, if you take a look over here, there are 3-sided faces over here. So I'm going to select these edges and then press Ctrl Delete to dissolve them. Alright, so everything is nice 4-sided faces right now. Alright, so next I want to reshape it so that it looks more like a helmet. So the bottom here, the bottom vertices here, I want to pull it down a little bit and use scale it down evenly. You can double click to select this edge loop, press W and then pull it down slightly. So to give it a nice rounded edge. Go over to the right view. You might need to press number 4 to go to transparent mode. You can see that there's still plenty of spacing between the helmet and the skull, so that there is enough space for me to put in hair later if I want to, which I have to put in the hair. So for the helmet, right, usually there is a slight dip. Okay, if you look at the references for helmets, there's a slight dip over here like that, and I'm going to push this back a little bit. Okay, so next, how to make this look more like a helmet. You can see right now this area here, this edge here is very sharp. Okay, to fix that, right, we're going to give this helmet a fake thickness. Now if you want to give it a real thickness, you can go and select all the faces and go and extrude everything at the same time. But I don't recommend doing this, although it looks good. Okay, but problem is that you are creating a lot of unnecessary geometry, right? Which you will have to manage in later, especially the internal geometry. So I'm not going to go through by this approach. A better approach, at least for me, would be to select the edge loop that runs across the edge like that. Then we're going to extrude out the edge instead. So shift right mouse click and extrude the edge. then pull the arrow so that it goes in a little bit. Now if you go to level 1, right, you can see that this is the edge, this is the new edge that we just extruded in. So if you want it to be nice and thick, okay, you can extrude it a little bit longer. So let me just undo that, and we will redo the extrusion one more time so that it goes in a little bit thicker like that. So if I go and press number 3, so now I can see the helmet looks like it has some roundness going on. Now if you want to have a hard edge that runs across here, you all still remember the bevel tool. You can select the edge that runs across the edge here and bevel it, or the easiest way would be to just insert another edge loop. Use the edge tool, shift right mouse click. Okay, I have to go to select the edge, shift right mouse click, and then just insert the edge loop close to the corner here. And then if you press number 3, and then now here you have a much harder looking edge. Alright. So I think this is nice looking. I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but remember I need to have a circular portion here so that it looks like she's listening. I mean, there's headphones that she's listening through, right? So right now this area doesn't really have a bulge. And take note, this helmet right now is a single object. So you can press Ctrl Shift and turn on symmetry, so that if I select this vertex and move it, the other side should move as well. Right? Let's just see whether, see, the other side should move. So hopefully you will use this too. But because I'll be doing a lot of complex operations here, I'm going to delete away half of this helmet. I'm going to switch off the symmetry, Ctrl Shift right mouse click, symmetry off in the x-axis. Switch over to face mode, select the left side, and then just delete it away. And I'm going to just edit duplicate special. And I always like to duplicate an instance in the scale -1 in the x-axis. In this case here, negative x-axis, and duplicate. Alright, so now I can just work on the left side, and the right side should behave the same. So what I intend to do is to grab this vertex, push it up a little bit, and then I want to chamfer it so that create additional faces around here. Then I will create a round shape around here. So how do you chamfer a vertex? You can shift right mouse click on it, and then we chamfer the vertex. Okay, so you end up with this shape looking like this. Next, we want to connect the vertices from here all the way to across. So I'm going to show you how to do that in level 1. So right mouse click, go to multi selection, go to select. Okay, make sure you hover over the element that you want to select. I do not want to select this edge, so I'm going to shift select it. Alright, so hover until you select the vertex, then holding down the shift, select this edge, and hover over the vertex and shift select it. So you have vertex, edge, vertex. Then shift right mouse click and then use connect. So you'll cut a line straight across right in the center here. Do the same thing here. Select the vertex, right? Then hover over the edge. Make sure you're in multi-selection mode. Then shift select. Change my view a bit, and then hover over the vertex, shift select, then shift right mouse click, and then do a connect component. Alright, so basically, essentially, I've created nice four-sided faces that I can insert edge loop around. So I'm going to insert one more edge loop around here, and it's not going to look very nice. And we're going to use our circularize tool to help us again. So go and select the faces around here. Press Q to select. Go and select these 4 faces. Then shift full stop to increase selection, and then we're going to change it into a circular shape. Alright, so if I subdivide this now, okay, it's going to end up looking like that. And I'm going to push it in a little bit. Okay, and I can extrude out one section here so that it looks like there is a space right for the headphones. Now I want to spread out this edge loop around here. So double click to select this edge loop, and then holding down to shift, and then we can slide it out. Okay, right now all of it is selected. It's a bit hard, so I'm going to use scale instead. I'm going to scale them out slightly so that the transition from here to this point, right, is smoother. Okay, and then use the move tool and then push it back down. So now I can see this circular portion coming out. I want to pull this central portion out slightly. I'm not going to extrude it, so just going to pull this out. And I think I'm going to use another orientation. Control Shift, go to Component, then pull it out along the normal orientation. Okay, so now she has a nice looking helmet. Okay, next we want to create her visor. The visor is more straightforward. Now the visor, right, we can create it just by using a sphere and then cutting off a sphere so that it has that round look. Okay, but okay, right now at this section here, okay, doesn't matter. Later when I join these two together, this area here will not look so V-shaped. Alright, so I'm going to just create, for this one I think I will just create a sphere. It's much easier. I'll create a sphere. And same thing, I'll just move the sphere up and I'll scale the sphere. And reduce the number of vertices. Okay, we have too many vertices here. Again, use an even number. Okay, 8, 7 again is good for me. So I'm going to take this sphere and I'm going to move it up and scale it out a little bit more. And this time I'm just going to select the faces that I want to keep, and I want to keep this one. Okay, maybe the internal ones as well. We will trim it off later on. Then select inverse and then delete it the rest away. So this will be my visor. So I'm going to rename this. I'll call this the visor. I'm going to give it a appropriate material, assign new material. Go to blend, then I will go to material attributes again, then I'm going to change this to visor material. And of course we want the visor to be transparent. Give it a nice, maybe a lilac hue. Okay, and if you press number 3 to subdivide it, actually it doesn't look too bad already. Okay, but of course we still need to trim so that it will cover our eyes properly. And the good thing about using the sphere is that you can rotate it up and down so that it looks like you can fold it in and out. Alright, like that. Okay, so let's trim this. I'm going to select her face, her head, and then the visor. And then I'm going to just isolate them. Okay, now it doesn't come with the eyes, so it looks a bit scary. Alright, let's see. Okay, I need to trim this area. Actually, we don't really need to trim. We can use the slide edge tool. Okay, for this one, I'm going to turn on symmetry. Symmetry in the x-axis. Then we're going to slide the edges here. Okay, by doing this sliding, right, we are not actually trimming or cutting the mesh. And we are just like reducing or rather changing the position, but while still maintaining the shape of the visor. Alright. Okay, so right now I just want to evenly space it out and then just pull this out a little bit. If I press number 3, okay, it still looks pretty okay, except that, let me see, does it cut into a flesh? Yeah, it does. So I'm going to select this vertex here and then slide it up. This one, and slide it up like that. Holding down Control Shift to slide, this is one of the best tools that I've discovered. I only discovered this only very recently, and I think it is one of the most useful tools you can use. So you can see it's a very simple shape. Okay, right now we just want to cut a notch over here so that it can accommodate her brow. Or let's say if she's supposed to be a fighter pilot, right? So it will accommodate her oxygen mask. Right, so we need to create a notch over here. So again, we're going to use our okay, we want to change the orientation back to world. Control Shift, change it back to world. Okay, where is my keyboard display? It seems to have disappeared. Yeah, I think I've accidentally turned it off. Yeah, there you go. Alright, so let's create a notch. So we need to, I go to level 1 and chamfer this again. So shift right mouse click on it and we can chamfer the vertex, alright, like that. And then we will select this central face here and delete it off. Then using our connect tool again, using multi-selection, select this vertex this vertex and multi-selection. Okay, right now symmetry is on. I need to temporarily turn off symmetry. Turn it off. Control Shift and turn it off. Okay, go back to multi-selection again. Select this vertex, then Shift select this edge, and then we're going to do a connect. Okay, so now we created four-sided faces. Repeat from here. This edge, Shift select this edge, this vertex rather, then Shift right mouse click and connect components. Alright, then we can now tweak this a little bit, so make it a bit rounder. Okay, because this symmetry is not on now, I will have to use the scale to make it like that. Now if I press number 3, so this is what the helmet looks like. Alright, so let me unhide everything. Let's see, display, show all. Okay, I need to go to the isolate select is still on, so I have to, yeah, okay. So I actually mistaken, it was not hidden, it was just isolated. Alright, so now we have this visor, alright, but problem is the visor is paper thin. Okay, again, to give it the illusion of, or rather to give it real thickness, you can select all the faces and extrude, but I'm just going to select the edge here, the open edge here, and do an extrude, and just pull it in, and then I'll press G to repeat the command again, and then I'll just push it up a little bit so that it will still be a thin piece of plastic, or but it will give somewhat of a edge. Alright, you can see the edge there. Alright, okay, so I don't really like the look of this. Let me undo this. Okay, and then I'll try the other method, which is really to give this a thickness. So select all the faces by double clicking on the face, then Shift right mouse click and extrude, and then we're just going to extrude inwards, and I think this one looks a little bit better, but this one is real thickness. Okay, right now the material is a bit too dark, so I'm going to increase the transparency. Okay, and then if I turn off the wireframe, okay, doesn't look too bad. So if your character is wearing a helmet, which I'm not planning to in the final pose, right? I do not want her to be wearing the helmet. I want her to be carrying the helmet. Then obviously we need to model her ears and then the hair. Okay, but for that we'll reserve that for another video. But for now, I will just continue to model her flight suit. Okay, right now because the color here is inappropriate, it looks like she's naked rather than wearing a uniform. So I will assign her with new materials. For example, the boots, her flight boots, right? I will select the faces that form her boots, and then I'll assign a new material. These are just temporary materials because the material in the end we're going to be adding in Substance Painter. So use a blend and then give it a name, call this boots, then give it a black color. Okay, and then we're going to do the same for the other one, just so that, just assign existing material boots. All right, then her hands, going to assign the same boots color as well. So I'm going to select all the faces here, then Shift full stop to increase selection, then right mouse click, assign existing to boots. Same for the other side. Again, these are just temporary. Shift full stop to increase selection. Then right mouse click, assign existing material boots. All right. Then now for the rest of her body, let's see. Okay, let's just do this a little bit. Go over to faces and select like what we selected for the hands. Then Shift and select the boots like that. Then go and select inverse. Okay, and then we can assign this with a new material. And I'm going to call this flight suit. Now for most fighter pilot flight suit colors, it's usually olive color, olive green. Okay, something like this. Alright, so I'm going to do the same for this one. Again, select the boots faces here. And or another way is that you can just delete this instance and then recreate it again. But okay, just demo this again. Alright, so with the faces selected, select inverse. Then right mouse click over the face and assign existing material flight suit. Okay, so right now she doesn't look so naked now. All right, we're going to fix the collar area here. Now, because this is going to be open collar, we are going to delete away the faces on top here. All right, and we can actually start to shape the collar already. Can start to pull this back a little bit and slide this back, and then you can use the slide tool to move this forward. And also a chest area, maybe I don't want to focus too much on the chest area, not yet, because you see for the other character I have to reflow the topology so that it is I would say much shapelier. Okay, I don't know whether that is an actual word. Much more shapely. Okay, so yeah, for this other character I think I'll just leave it as it is. We'll just keep it simple. Okay, we just push this down slightly. Alright, so to match the reference that we have done. This one needs to come down here. Yeah. Okay, her boot looks a bit odd, so I'm gonna fix it a bit. Okay. Okay, so now how do I create the collar? So very simply, I will just grab one of the vertices, and you have to be very careful, just in the correct angle, just pull it and open and reveal. But then you will notice, hey, but your faces here all look black. So how do we fix that? So I'm going to show you how to do that. So remember this, because this computer graphics, right, every face, right, has a positive and negative side. So the black area is basically what we are looking at is the negative side. So how do we make it positive? Unfortunately, there is no way to make this show the same side. I mean, in some software, you can enable something called double-sided, so that even the negative side will also show the same color. Okay, I can't remember whether Maya can do that. Maybe it can, maybe it can't. I can't remember that. But what we're going to do is that we are just going to create another positive face around here. So right now we can see that the faces here pointing outwards, or rather inwards, right, facing inwards are black. So we are just going to select only the faces, right, that will form the collar. Okay, like that. And then we're going to extrude another section out. Alright, so with this faces selected, you can shift right mouse click and then extrude face, and we're going to pull it along the blue arrow. Alright, so you notice the faces are still black, right? But I'm just going to give it a little bit more thickness like that. Yeah. So what we can do is we can select those faces that are black. Okay, let me just undo, because previously these are the faces that I've extruded. You can hold down the shift and full stop to increase the selection. Alright, so only the faces that are up here are black, are selected, rather the extruded faces are selected. Then we can go under mesh display and reverse. So when you reverse it, you will become green, the extruded faces. Okay, but you will end up with something looking like that, and this is something we have to manually fix, right? Because we have a transition between the positive face and the negative face, so it end up with these artifacts. So what we can do is you can separate the collar. Alright, separate the collar from the main shirt itself. So we do not have this problem. That means we create a separate element out from it. So if we go to level 1, right, I think it's a bit clearer. Okay, so I'm going to select the edge from here all the way to... Okay, I need to delete away this face. Okay, select this edge all the way to here. Then shift full stop to gradually increase the selection and deselect those that I do not want. And then on select this face, the inner collar here, I will be separating them like that, and then this one as well. Alright, so now I will detach them. So edit mesh, I'll detach them first. Okay, and then I will separate it. The selected faces, so that now I should have two separate objects. Okay, what happens there? Okay, it doesn't seem to have detached. Okay, I'm going to use this tool instead here. Detach and extract, and then create a new model from it. All right, now this works. Right, so I should have the collar and then this one separate. So if I press number 3 on this, I shouldn't have that ugly transition over here. But the seam, right, is actually lined up, so it doesn't look too strange. Okay, but the problem is that since they are detached, they are not actually joined together. So you will have to find a way, right, to try to get them to stick together as closely as possible. And also, if you want your collar to be sharper, right, then you have to insert either edge loop or a bevel over here. For example, I want this here to be sharp, so I'm going to bevel this. Okay, let me undo that. Let's see, what else can I do over here? Okay, another way will be just to insert one edge loop that is closer to the edge here like that. Then I have a sharper looking collar. Yeah, so this is what I want. And then I can use the soft selection, right? Press B to turn on soft selection. Holding down the B, middle mouse click and drag to increase. And then we can pull out and then shape our collar. So soft selection can be extremely useful here. Holding down the B and middle mouse click and drag to control the range. You can also use it on other elements, like I'm going to try it on edges instead. Just going to pull the collar back down a bit. Okay, so essentially that's how I created the collar. So, but right now you notice everything is separated because I detached this. The instance is gone. I'm going to duplicate special again so that I have both sides done. Alright, so now you can see that her neck, okay, which I've basically pulled down and created the neck, there's nothing here. So there are a couple of things you can do. You can extrude out more sections here from this edge to this edge. Press B to turn off the soft selection. Okay, double click to select this border here, and then you can hold down to shift and extrude out another section like that. And then I'm going to select these edge again, newly extruded edges again, right? And then I will scale them out. Okay, but remember to pull it out so that we have sort of a fake chest going on. Okay. So another way, right, to sort of like fix this look is to attach a scarf, or in my case, right, usually for a lot of reference pictures I see, right, a pilot, right, will have a scarf stuffed around here, and it usually be this bright red or bright orange scarf. So this scarf, it's not really a scarf, it looks more like a turtleneck. Is created from a torus. So let's do that. Let's create a torus. And we don't need so much detail. So go to material attributes. Oh, sorry, yeah. Let me just, for this one, maybe I'll give her a red hint of a scarf, or maroon color, dark maroon color, yeah. And then I don't need so much subdivisions. A little bit will do, not so many. Nice even number. Okay, I think this is, maybe this 8 will be good enough. And I will scale this non-uniformly up in vertex mode, and just scale it out like that. And we will go back to object mode and position it into place. Okay, use wireframe, press number 4 to go to wireframe, and then use it to again rescale this non-uniformly, holding down control and then grabbing the Z-axis, the Y-axis rather, and then I'm going to rotate this to match the angle of her neck, and then position it over here like that. And from this point onwards, right, you can see over the vertex and then grab and move it to conform to her neck. Oh, what happened to the helmet? Okay, so let me assign a new material. For this helmet. Give her a nice white color helmet. Okay. Okay, so for this red scarf or bandana, so you can turn on number 3. So, and to rescale it, you can select the rings here. Okay, this is my favorite part. Select the ring loops here, and then you can just scale it. You can scale it non-uniformly like that, and then you can grab these vertices over here, and then press B to turn on soft selection, and then just pull this out. You can also make it a little bit uneven so that it looks more like a soft cloth object. And then the back portion here, we can push it back in so that it doesn't cut into her uniform. Her neck also needs to be adjusted. Let me just adjust her neck a bit. Okay, so now back to the scarf. I'm gonna grab these 2 edges here, turn on soft selection, then use scale to scale it inwards. This one I have to use move, just push it inwards. Okay, a collar, maybe I wanna tweak the collar a bit, select the, turn off soft selection, select the vertices at the center line here, use scale to flatten them, and use move to overlap them. Okay. So right now you can see she's like wearing this almost like a red scarf. And I think I want to pull out this area here so it fills out the chest area here. Like that, yeah. Alright, so you guys get the idea. So this one doesn't have to be symmetrical. You can push it up and down, so give it sort of like a cloth-like look to it. And also this is a great way, right, to hide the seams. Okay, you can use like a necklace. Okay, so accessories, right, to really hide the seams. Okay, let me see. Okay, there's this part still chopping into the clothes. Yep. And essentially that's pretty much it. Alright, I will probably need to insert a couple more edge loops around here. Right, so that I have enough detail to reshape the shoulder. Okay, so you can see that I'm deviating from my design slightly just to give her a much more shapely figure. Okay, and then maybe her shoes, the tip here needs to be wider a little bit. Okay, so yeah, I think I will stop the video now just to prevent it from being too long, but this is essentially how you do the things like accessories like helmet and all that. All these are very, very minor things. Now, granted, there are still a lot of tweakings that needs to be done, and then if you need extra detail, you still have to insert edge loops or cut or put in more of the edge loops before we join everything together. Now, right now, she looks a bit, doesn't look very happy to me. So you want to make her smile, and if your topology lines are good, okay, you should be able to do this very easily. So right now, everything you can see, there's a continuous loop that goes around her mouth. There's at least one loop that goes around her nose, right? So we are going to go to vertex mode, then press B once and release. Then I'm going to grab the tips of her mouth, and then you can increase and reduce the range of the influence. Then let's make her smile. So press E to rotate. Just rotate this angle first, then move, and then now she's smiling. She's more happier. Okay, and let's see, should I need to push this back? No, I think this looks, at least it looks good to me. Right, I think her bottom lip needs to be bigger, so I will slide this down a little bit more. Remember to slide, hold on Control Shift, and then in your move, then you can slide. Okay, and I want her lips to bulge out a little bit, so I'm going to insert one edge loop here, right in the middle. Press Q to select this loop, then move it out ever so slightly. So now her lips are bulging out a little bit. And this one, let's give her a much fuller looking lips. Okay, so now she looks happier. And I shall stop the video here.